Boom, and we're live. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Man with Purpose. Today I'm joined by Andrew Huvaere. Based out of Pheonix, Arizona, Andrew is a man of the earth. He's a steward at Sacred Sons, a men's work facilitator, hosting potent men's circles, workshops, and sound medicine journeys across the world. He's deeply involved with the art of conscious breathing and masculine alchemy Mentorium, which are his greatest works of art to date. I'm very honored to have Andrew here. Andrew, thank you very much for doing this, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Pavel. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here.
Likewise. I normally start these conversations with just opening the space a little bit and just doing a quick check-in. So I'll just invite you to take a deep breath and just share whatever's present for you right now.
I am present to the importance of rest and relaxation. Right now in this moment, I feel very relaxed and deeply rested, and that's just allowing myself to arrive fully into this moment, fully present, fully here.
Oh, I hear that. I hear that. I want to resonate also. That really resonates with me as well. I'm checking with a lot of gratitude. Somehow, whether I haven't slept or maybe overworked or whatever the case may be, it's one of those quote unquote days. Every single time I sit opposite another man, even though it's over Zoom, it's I don't know, just something inside of me sparks up, and I'm like, okay, I'm fully in, locked and loaded, and just grounded and present for the conversation. So I'm checking in with that.
Beautiful.
And I've been following you for a while, and I can see these kind of very a plethora of different things that you're doing. So I'm really curious to know more about that. But also before that, I want to also know a little bit about yourself. Like, what was Andrew before he kind of got on this path of spiritual awakening, men's work, etc., etc.? Let's maybe start from there.
Yeah, so you could say my journey in my youth was I was a rebellious youth. I didn't really resonate with a lot of the things that my peers were doing at the time. I was always questioning reality. What's the purpose of this experience? And I didn't really fall in line with the majority growing up. So I found myself kind of in the on the fringe always within my experiences. And yeah, in my early years, I began to explore psychedelics and substances from a very young age, and that's kind of what my whole journey was about, was getting addicted to all of these types of experiences and chasing these highs and kind of pushing the envelope on what life's about. And I found myself getting into a lot of trouble. Found myself being addicted to all sorts of substances and different types of abuse in that manner. Very, very self-destructive for many years of my life, which ended up leading me to, alcoholism at a very young age, addicted to gambling, addicted to sex. I had addictions to, cannabis and like pharmaceutical, like painkillers. That was really my life was just kind of building up through these self-destructive habits, and it reached a tipping point where I came to the proverbial rock bottom in my life. Had gotten arrested a couple times and had lost my long-term girlfriend. Ended up dropping out of college, really questioning why am I here? And it's the point of even contemplating of taking my own life. And yeah, there was a turning point there as I was going into jail for driving under the influence of alcohol. I had to do 6 months in jail here in Arizona, and that was the turning point in my journey. That was when my awakening had occurred. And while I was in jail, I began to kind of teach myself meditation and studied all of the sacred texts and really began to study a lot of these teachers and mentors. And that was kind of where everything began to unfold, was from that point. So
Wow.
that's where it all began, essentially.
Wow, dude, sounds like you lived 1,000 lives. Like you kind of went through multiple plethora of things and you really cramped up a lot of experiences in those early years.
Hmm.
Wow. I think, I was speaking to, I think you guys know each other, Edward Duell.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, he told me that you told him, you know what, the most, how did you call it? The most baller move I could do is ask for help. and that's just like, whoa, wow. Like that's one of those aha moments that I need to kind of write down, something like stamp on my forehead, because maybe it's me, but I don't think so. Like many men don't really have that mentality. Is that something that kind of occurred to you as you were already on this journey? Or yeah, I'm just curious, because not many men, I think a lot of men suffer in silence, and they kind of close up and they don't really talk to people, and let alone ask for help.
Yeah, that's the point of breakthrough, I find, is just that willingness to be like, look, I can't do this alone. I surrender. I'm seeking this assistance of where I'm at, and someone just hear me out, someone just grab my hand. And I feel like that's a turning point in the journey of vulnerability, when you can reach out and ask for help, especially within this men's work. That's a lot of the men come into this work with that inability to be vulnerable and to ask for help. And
Mm.
yeah, so that just clicked for me in the past, 6 or 7 years along this journey of my development, was how important that is. And that's something I still have to exercise a lot, because
Mm.
I still fall into these places of not asking for help. And even though I'm a facilitator and I'm doing this work regularly, I'll still get into that space. And yeah, it's so important. We're not meant to do this alone. We're meant to be connected and doing this together, and we're so much
Mm.
stronger. And that's an invitation for someone else to show up for you and for them to be empowered as well. And yeah, there's some mutual exchange that happens through just
Mm-hmm.
asking for help.
Yeah. Wow. Man, kudos for you being super upfront and, practicing what you preach essentially, and just being candid about it. Like it, even though I kind of walk this path, I'm also a human being. I don't always kind of, sometimes I fall short from this. So
Mm.
kudos to that. I remember speaking with a buddy of mine. Actually, we spoke a couple of days ago, and he was saying, sometimes you need to honor the other person's ability to be able to help you. Really, for them to kind of be able to hold that space and be able to facilitate and really be able to kind of feel that they are of benefit to someone else. So sometimes I think about this when I'm like stuck in my own mind, thinking, oh, I can probably deal this, deep down knowing that that's not going to happen. So why not allow someone else to come and see you as you are right now and just be of assistance?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right.
That's what I'm constantly doing. And as a facilitator, I'm looking for other brothers that can hold me and step up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the one that's in the front and always like facilitating and delivering. I like to be on the receiving end as well, and stepping back and watching other men step into those positions.
Mm.
So I'm always looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. I'm not normally, I'm kind of the person being able to hold the space, but for some reason it's been very, how to say, it's been very a foreign land to me to step in and just kind of enjoy the journey, and someone else is actually holding the space and providing the this container where I can be myself without judgment, without any shame, any guilt, and just be able to kind of let go. It's quite an interesting space to be in there. I think people who have experience will know what I'm talking about, but men who are perhaps sitting a little bit on the fringe, on the fence, I'd invite them to kind of step in and just kind of see where that takes you.
Yeah.
Um, talk to me a little bit about how did you find men's work, because I think I've been into this kind of movement, if you will, of personal development in air quotes, but I only became aware of men's work, so to speak, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. I know there was the Me Too Poetic Me Too Poetic movement back in the 80s, but how did you find this work in the first place?
Yeah, so for me, I was along my journey of personal development and self mastery. I got really deep into the yogic traditions and was deeply involved with the hatha and kundalini yoga side of that. So I was, I was walking the plant medicine path as well through this time. And I became a teacher within those yogic traditions. And there was a lot of women within my community. And as a teacher, um, it's easy when you have like a strong discipline and you have a nice community. It's easy to kind of bypass a lot of things that are going on, especially with like a disciplined system, like a meditation and a hard practice.
Hmm.
I could just funnel this things and just do more meditation and do more practicing and kind of just like power my way through things. And I found that I was missing like that brotherhood, that like the just more being surrounded by men and doing like manly things. Um, like I was getting softer. It felt like just being always meditative and surrounded by women. I felt like I was just becoming very soft. Like I
Hmm.
didn't have anything to push against.
Hmm.
And I didn't, and like it wasn't okay for me to like express my
No.
anger or my discontent anymore. I just needed to meditate more or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
through that, I met some of the brothers from Sacred Sun, some of the co-founders at a music festival. It was like the Oregon Eclipse Festival, about three and a half years ago now. And I had just been following them on Instagram and kind of watching what they were doing and how that was unfolding. And as soon as they came out with their first offering, I was like, boom, I'm there. And I found myself out in Southern California for the first convergence. And while I was there, they needed a sound healer. So I'm a sound healer. So I was like, I stepped right into the mix, and from there it was just like, look, I want to bring this home. This medicine's so profound for me, just the connection, the brotherhood, and just being real and authentic, and being like able for me to like step off the podium of a teacher and just be amongst the other men and get cracked
Hmm.
open and express myself, these things that I was afraid to share. And so much value in that I was like, okay, I'm bringing this back home. And I already had a community built up. So I just created this space and started leading my own men's councils, not even knowing what I was doing. It was just like men gathering at first. And that's where it all began. And yeah, 3 years later now, I've been leading these massive groups and facilitating these retreats now every week.
Wow. Wow, man. Awesome. um, I've been getting more and more into men's work and try to kind of really understand a little bit the history about that. If someone is kind of listening right now, maybe is somewhere within Arizona and is kind of curious about this, how would you probably best describe men's work with your words?
So I would say it's a safe space for men to come together and to express themselves authentically,
Hmm.
and for them to come into contact with the highest expression of their being, their core essence, to touch
Hmm.
that part of themselves, and to find support and accountability within that circle of men to further embody, align, and really bring through what is this greater aspect of your being that you desire to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well said. Well said. Um, hmm. You mentioned something about not having a band of brothers, and us becoming a little bit soft. What do you, and perhaps also a pattern seems to be emerging every single time I speak to other men on the podcast is, additionally to this, they say that, or not explicitly, but that there seems to be a lack of, at least what I'm getting at, a lack of fathering, a lack of, call it, male role models or mentors, or actually genuine, fathers, biological fathers, if you will. Well, why do you think that is? How did that happen?
Yeah, I feel like our generation is a generation raised by lost fathers, and it's
Mm,
I think it has a lot to do with just the modern day kind of structure of things. Is like, work, get a job, have a career, and the man is to provide for the household, and he's got to put in these long hours each week, and
mm,
um, so perhaps the father is not really around that much for the development of the son, and maybe the son is being raised more so by the mother, and the mother's got to kind of take on the masculine role within the household.
mm,
um, and like, there's a lot of the men that I've worked with, that's kind of been the case, or maybe their fathers weren't even there and they were raised by their mothers. So we've kind of got that missing link in our development where, or even if our father was around, maybe he was an alcoholic or a gambler, or he wasn't really there, he wasn't very present with us, he didn't provide a proper system or model for us to, what is this healthy masculine supposed to look
mm,
like. So we're kind of left to figure this out on our own, and
mm,
that's essentially what we're doing now, is we're creating the
mm,
spaces to become our own fathers and our own
mm,
parents, and kind of reparent ourselves, and define and determine, well, what is this healthy masculinity? And that could be different for each person, it could be unique for each case. And that's really the beauty of the the evolution of what this work is and what we're doing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I I listen to this, and I also ask myself, apart from, do being able to understand and kind of realize this, obviously maybe it's not necessarily our fault, but perhaps it's our responsibility to be working on this. What do you think we can do for, future generations or young men that are actually being raised right now, to kind of maybe prevent the same fate that we have? Not to be over dramatic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like, that is our responsibility for how we show up. And I believe, I know that the best way to teach is to lead by example.
Mm,
So it's taking care of, my responsibilities first and foremost, and making sure that the way that I show up in the world is aligned and balanced, and that my energy becomes an example of that, so that I can just teach by the way that I lead, and hope that I inspire other men to do the same thing, so that there are more of these men that are doing the work, and that are more balanced and more in alignment.
mm,
And from there, it's, then we're creating more of these, what are these role models, what are these men that these younger men can look up to, and there'll be more of them out there, just day to day in the grocery store, doing something kind, and or protecting a woman when she's in danger, and making the right choices,
mm,
and
mm,
being that example in the day-to-day life. And then on top of that, I feel like it's the work that we're really bringing through with Sacred Sons, and creating these types of youth mentorship programs for the boys that are being raised by single mothers, giving them like an experience out in the wilderness with some men that are really about this work, and taking them through a rites of passage or some form of initiation or ceremony, to really have them come in contact with these aspects of what we're bringing through in these spaces that we're creating.
mm. Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Sacred Sons. I did the mentorship, youth mentorship training with Trevor Spring, I think last week. So I think we're just even supposed to have a call after this call. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, that's something that I really have a deep I don't know, passion or calling from, because I see so much of myself in the young men I see on some of these calls, and I'm like, wow, like if there was someone like, you know, go back in time 15, 16 years ago, if someone could actually, you know, I can show up in a call and someone can actually see me in that, you know, lost boy that I was at the time, and just be able to kind of extend the arm and, you know, just kind of listen to me, boy, like things would have been very completely different. But everything happens, you know, as cliche as this sounds, happens for a reason. So that's why perhaps we're here today.
Yeah, definitely is.
Awesome. You know, in the beginning, I mentioned that you're doing a lot of other practices, and I think men's work is not just, I think, men sitting in a circle. I think there's a lot of activity, especially on some of these workshops or retreats that you're doing. Could you talk to me a little bit about, first of all, what is the art of conscious breathing, and how is that perhaps related to the other medicine that you're bringing to other men and women, I think?
Yeah, so the art of conscious breathing is a piece that I've kind of been developing over the years as I've been trained in a lot of yogic practices and pranayama techniques, and I've explored a lot of different modalities and working with the breath, and I've ventured through these, you know, kind of somatic breath work ceremonies and the Wim Hof breathings and the like the holotropic breathing. And then I've worked with the more ancient yogic systems as well, just like pranayama, just the control of the life force. And I've kind of, you know, come to my own understanding of how the breath is to be worked with. And I've found that, you know, some of these practices are very like hard and fast, and they kind of create a, like these kind of like somatic responses, and it's kind of using the breath powerfully to create some form of release. And I've really begun to resonate more so with like just tapping and tuning into the parasympathetic nervous system with the breath, and just working slowly and
I think
developing discipline.
Can you still hear me? Sorry, I think I'm losing you.
Yeah.
There's like, maybe that's the.
My beard was blocking the microphone.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a distortion in the audio, so I can't hear anything. Let's try again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So the art of conscious breathing is really going into, a breathing practice of working with the parasympathetic nervous system, opposed to these hardcore kind of breathing practices that activate the sympathetic nervous system. And it's an intertwining of just primal philosophy that I've taken from nature and connecting it to the breath, and teaching people how to connect their own philosophy to the breath, so that their relationship to the breath becomes very balanced and natural and harmonic, and just developing a deeper love and connection to breathing, and how this is like the most primal and pure way to work through, to move through life, and to begin to, kind of transform and transmute things that they come up as they arise. So I bring through a lot of present moment awareness exercises into those teachings. I teach people very simple and basic techniques, and just like bring it down to a purity, a simple, powerful way of developing this beautiful relationship to the breath of life. I find that it's more potent and powerful when we develop a discipline and we're able to connect philosophy to it, and we get to understand and deepen our connection to the breath, instead of going to ceremony and trying to release and let go of things. It's like, how are you breathing day to day in your life, when you're driving your car, when you're walking through the grocery store, when you're being present with someone that you love? What is the quality of your breath in that moment? And I'm more interested in developing the connection in those moments, instead of these like, let's get high, get fast, and move through stuff kind of breath work techniques. So that's what I feel like is a lot of my mission, is kind of tapping into that sense of more of a rest and relaxation in a more disciplined and deeper connection to breathing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think maybe that's where your kind of Instagram handle kind of comes in, inner life. I think inner life G. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
life force energy.
Here we go. Inner life force energy. There we go. It's so counterintuitive. If people haven't been exposed to this type of practices, specifically any type of kind of breathing, um, it's so simple yet it's so powerful. I think it's probably the most powerful work to work through your traumas that I've personally ever experienced. I think I've done a few sessions where you're like 60-minute nonstop breathing, and you're like this, and you so much trauma, so much shit, and so much like things that you've kind of swept under the carpet that afterwards you're like, what the hell just happened? And this whole um, maybe to some extent it is a little bit of a cliche, but you getting on your own supply, you getting high on your own supply, there's nothing better, man. I don't need to tell you this. You kind of know this, but um, can you talk a little bit about the ability of breath work to release traumas from the body?
Yeah, so a lot of, what I work with in terms of the breathing and how to assimilate these traumas is I don't like to do like the breathwork ceremony so much where it's like just digging the stuff up and we're just moving through the stuff. I prefer to create this connection of just like we can open up these pathways within the moment and we can become more receptive to the energies that we're experiencing in day-to-day life. So for example, if you are with your partner and they're triggering some type of core wound of yours within the relationship and you can feel yourself begin to close down, the work that I do is just bringing awareness to these moments within the present moment and learning how to open up and relax and just breathe naturally and harmonically through those spaces so that we can allow instead of like that defense mechanism of closing down, we just begin to open up those pathways with the breath, just in a very natural, very calm way, and allow that energy to just move very, very naturally along its course instead of forcing it out powerfully. And I find that these traumas, these things that have happened to us, these are really there to provide us with growth and transformation along our journey. It didn't happen to us, it happened for us essentially. And I like to work through them more slowly and gradually and naturally, opposed to like hard and fast and quickly, let's just clean that out. So I find that there's through patience and through discipline and through just bringing awareness to these pieces and changing your perception around these wounds, you're able to kind of tap into this powerful energy and allow it to integrate in a more slower kind of natural way. And the breath is just a way of kind of opening up these energetic pathways within the body and bringing a deeper awareness to it. When you feel the abdominal cavity tightening and you feel yourself closing down, correct the posture, take a couple of deep, slow breaths, and just allow the energy to just move through you naturally. And that's kind of the way that I like to work with it personally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds like this is it's more of your unique approach to things, right? After you kind of practice something, you kind of get to like, maybe I like a little bit more of this way of approaching, and really normalize slowing down and pacing yourself, as opposed to kind of some of these power sessions that, frankly, I've been a part of those as well, and they do work, but I guess there is more than one way to actually get something done.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way that I like to go about it, is more of a rest and relaxation type of way through life, and being very present with it instead of on to the next one, always trying to chase something, always trying to heal something. Like I'm living in the vibration of healing, and I'm not afraid of all of these things, and I dance with them and I allow them to transform me slowly and naturally instead of upon my own will placing it on there.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think there is a tendency, especially in today, and I'm guilty of that, is just to kind of run through this course and then this book and that book and this experience, and like, man, when do you actually slow the fuck down and just really just be grateful for what just happened? Like, take a deep breath, review. Like, not that many people do this. I think we're kind of depriving ourselves a little bit, and I'm kind of drinking the same Kool-Aid sometimes, but I'm like, wow, this just really had a profound impact on my life. It's probably worth me sitting and staying with all this experience for a little bit.
Yeah, I vibrate with that.
What about, you said sound healing. This is another one of your pillars that you kind of specialize in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the sound has always been a great teacher of mine, and I got like into my Hatha and Kundalini yoga practice. I was, I played a lot of gong and a lot of crystal singing bowls and drums and all sorts of these beautiful harmonious kind of sounds and frequencies. And I found that those can just work on people in a very deep level. There's just like, I've witnessed a lot of great healing occur just by surrendering and being open to sounds and vibrations and frequencies. And again, it's coming into practices in a very restful, relaxed state. That's where I always like to approach things. So this is like a space that I'm continuing to evolve and grow into. And, I'm learning new instruments all the time. This year picked up the flute, and I'm starting to play the flute now, and the didgeridoo. And I love drums, just steady rhythms. There's so much profound healing that can come from those spaces, and now science is beginning to catch up to this, and this is an area that I'm looking to kind of like bridge my understanding with more science language, because I'm just like intuitively feel how this stuff works. I just grab an instrument, I play the instrument, it's like I become the instrument. I'm just very open and receptive. Like when I'm playing the gong, I just go into a trance, and like the gong plays me, and that vibration like is rippled throughout the room. And it's like, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. It's just like, I'm just getting out of my own way. And same like playing drums. It's just like, I get into like a flow state, and then it just starts moving through me, and it creates some form of magic. And yeah, it's such a great tool to play with.
Wow. Dude, more and more I've been thinking about buying one of these. I think it's called a raft drum, where you like, I don't know, the moment I hear this and everything just goes like, oh, like I'm like super chilled afterwards. And it's always been something that I wanted to play. The more I want to kind of step into a more of a facilitator role and be able to facilitate, I think instruments like this, just music in general, has such a powerful way of inducing certain states in people, where I think change becomes much, much easier, and people are almost kind of opening up, provided that the right circumstances are there.
Yeah. No, it's so very true. I feel like that's going to be the evolution of our healthcare system in the future, is going to be very sound-based type of healings. And yeah, it looks like that's kind of where things are going.
I don't know much about the science, but I've definitely heard that I think there's certain waves, and again, I don't want to butcher this, so please don't quote me on this, but it does have a kind of a healing effect on the body in certain conditions. So I'm curious to see where this goes, man. And maybe people like you are actually spearheading this in one way or the other. But I'm a big fan of moving away from all this kind of big pharma and really looking for alternative ways to heal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. I like it. What about the masculine alchemy mentorium? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the masculine alchemy mentorium is a way that I've begun to offer my like one-on-one mentorship with men in a closed group container. And within that container, I go through my iteration of working with the archetypal teachings brought forth by
Mm,
Carl Jung. So like the king, the warrior, the lover, the magician. And then I've added this fusion, my take on them in a sense of aligning them with the four elements, because I work with the elements and I work with the earth as my teacher. And so I've fused these systems together to kind of bring my own piece around that. And it's just a way for me to offer mentorship at a rate that's affordable for men, and then they can get the collective kind of experience over the course of 9 weeks. We all go on this journey together, and then I get to kind of throw in a lot of my wisdom and the medicine that I'm bringing through with like the art of conscious breathing and these like conscious destroyerhood kind of teachings, these esoteric
mm,
philosophies that I've embodied over the years. And I just kind of blend them all together. And yeah, it's been a great experience thus far. I've ran 2 of these containers, and all the men have had profound transformations and deep alignments to their purpose, and just a deeper acknowledgement of where they're at in their journey and what needs to be done. And they found the support and the accountability within those containers to start making strides in those areas and find more alignment and balance in their lives. And so that's really
mm.
a passion of mine now, is just extending this masculine alchemy mentorium out there so that men can receive the medicine and feel the brotherhood, whether you're on the other side of the world or you're local here in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Wow, beautiful. I'm curious. You said you've been working in this field for, I don't know, 3-4 years more actively, let's say. What are some common themes that you see men come up with, or maybe bring to the table? Maybe wounds or traumas that kind of maybe they're not even conscious about, and that during the process just things come up for them.
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of the common themes that I've witnessed is a lot of ungroundedness. I would say, like, a lot of men are trapped in their heads and always thinking and trying to fix things and work things through. Their awareness resides in the upper region of their body. So a lot of the work that I like to do is like bring the awareness down back into the earth and help them find stability and security within their own being, so that they can operate from a more present state of being and become more open and receptive to their experience of life. The other stuff would be, our perception around these perceived traumas and wounds that we have. It's oftentimes this is the enemy. I have this thing and it needs to go. And this parent or this person in my life did this to me, and it's a lack of responsibility and ownership of their experience. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing is purifying perceptions and inviting people into a reframe of their personal story and their experience, so that
Mm-hmm.
they could actually begin to utilize these perceived poisons and turn them into medicine and allow it to support their growth and their transformation. Because from my understanding, that's what it's all there for. It's there to form us into the greater versions of ourselves. There is no thing that we cannot handle, that we have been dealt. And from my understanding, there is no enemy. There's only teachers. There's only adversaries. So a lot of the wounds is
Mm.
there's a lot of core wounds around the parents and, childhood type of, inner child work, or the inability to tap into sensitivity, to be aware of feelings, and to
Mm.
really tune into the body, to be in the body, not in the head, but in the body, and experience life from in your body, from a more visceral type of experience.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Man, this is such a great perspective to approach something like this. Everything is a teacher. There are no enemies. I'm just here to learn something new, perhaps, and see where that takes me. Wow.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I sometimes, I ask myself about how difficult it is for some people to accept responsibility, yet not realizing that that's kind of the thing that could potentially set them free, so to speak. When you accept responsibility for something, then it's much easier to change whatever you're going through, man. But yeah, getting to that point is kind of the difficult bit. Sometimes it
Yeah.
takes like another brother to actually call you out and to say, man, you're probably not taking responsibility somewhere where you should be.
Mm.
Hmm.
So very true.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm conscious of time, but I want to ask one more question. Um, was there something that you wanted me to ask you that I didn't?
I am open to anything really. I have no desires of where to take me on this journey. I am just receptive to how it unfolds.
Love the energy. Love the energy. Um, how do you think this whole movement of men's work plays out in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now? I know it's rather big question, but I'm curious to kind of get your thoughts, especially because you're practicing, you're in this every day.
Yeah, how it unfolds, I'd like just to see this type of work become normalized. I would like to see, these spaces created for men, these safe containers all across the world. I'd love to just see more men supporting one another and holding each other accountable, and um, like embracing one another and hanging out with one another, and um, you know, just really this just feeling safe around each other, to
Mm,
really be who we are. And I just want to see that ripple out and expand throughout this world, and see other men showing up as protectors within this realm, and really stepping up to the plate of, we're here to to protect the women and the children and the earth,
mm,
and we're not here for these uh, for our own for these own desires from our will. There's a greater will at work that we need to be aligning to. And
mm,
I feel like, yeah, the more that these organizations pop up, like Sacred Sons and all these other ones out there, the safer and the more joy that brings into my being, knowing that, like, okay, we're making an impact here, and this is going to be supportive to the youth and to the women of the future. And I would love to
mm.
just be able to travel and drop in with other communities, and um, yeah, just all around the world, just like feeling that kind of energy like I feel when I'm around my brothers. Like, I want to be able to
Mm,
go anywhere in the world and feel like there's that anchored down somewhere there.
mm. Yeah, I'm getting this. I mean, totally resonates with what you're saying. I think most, if not all, of the problems right now, I think, because of men, children running the world, if you will, not having done their inner work. They projected their shadows, and of course, there's a lot of people that are power hungry, and I get all that. That's a whole separate discussion. But I genuinely believe that everything starts within inside. I know, again, throwing cliches left and right, but doing your own work, that's probably the biggest gift you can do for yourself, for the your community, people around you, even the world. Just do your own work. Go, let go of all the traumas that happened to you, and yeah, just really create containers for other men. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I kind of mentioned to some of the guys that I interviewed. A lot of this work seems to be happening in the US. I think in Europe, where I'm based right now, there's here and there things popping up. Maybe it's just a cultural thing, or maybe it's just a matter of time for people to see, oh wow, look what's happening with. Sacred Sons is coming more and more to Europe. I think obviously now because of COVID, it's a little bit more difficult, but I really love to see this popping up everywhere, and men really being able to step up, because I think a lot of them need it. They know they need it, but they wouldn't just kind of raise their hand and show up. I think we need to kind of create a safe container and a space where they can actually step up and be seen.
Yeah, I definitely vibrate with that. And you know, I've got some ties to Europe. I've lived out in Scotland for a bit, and I have Celtic and Nordic ancestry, and I've got a lot of brothers out in Europe. So I've created a Europa circle, online circle through Zoom, just to extend
Mm.
the space for men in Europe on their timeline to drop into these spaces. So right now, every other Friday, a brother Ben and myself are running these groups. We have a lot of brothers from Amsterdam in the UK and Cape Town, South Africa, joining in those groups. So I'm looking to expand into that space just to continue seeding the European side of the world with what this work's about and create those spaces for them.
Nice, brother. That's amazing. Are you guys planning to do any type of retreats and like live events, or pending whatever happens with COVID right now?
Yeah, we're planning to do something June this year, but it's like the travel restrictions. We're kind of just keeping a pulse on what's going on with all of that. And, we were looking at coming to Norway and Scotland and offering some retreats there. And yeah, so it's definitely, you know, that's a piece. Like, I'm a part of the Sacred Scotland tour and the Sacred Ireland tour with my brother Ryan McKenna, and that's kind of been on hold since COVID, but that was a recurring yearly thing that we were doing. And you know, I'm really looking forward to the day when we're back over there and I get to visit every year and continue to kind of anchor down this
Mm.
energy on the European side.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm looking forward to that as well. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Um, or yeah, because I've experienced something like this a couple of times when I was in the UK. But other than that, there's another organization called Manifesto that I think I'm getting slowly more a part of and getting more involved and engaged there. But other than that, there's this. I think there's these other types of organizations that are about personal development, but not so much on men's work. And I think that there's different types of flavors, if you will. But yeah, I've just felt the potency of this work, hence why I'm a big proponent for it. Dude, I'm sure we can talk about on a lot of other topics without preparation. If you know people resonating with your wisdom, with your message, and with your energy, and with your kind of monk vibe, where can they find more about you?
Yeah, so my brand is Life Force Alchemy. You can find me on Instagram at life.force.alchemy, or I've got a YouTube channel as well. Those are the best ways to connect with me. I'll probably have a website up later this year. Um, and yeah, that's, you know, through Sacred Sons. You know, I'm a lead facilitator within that organization, and so I'm at majority of these events and sharing my medicine in those spaces. And yeah, I'd love to connect. So I've got that online circle for the European side of the world on Fridays right now, and yeah, a lot of other online offerings to the Masculine Alchemy Mentorium. I offer private one-on-one mentorship as well, and that's like the best ways to connect with me and the medicine that I'm bringing through.
Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. By all means, go and check Andrew's work. You can see he brings a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in this field. So please go check out his Instagram page, YouTube channel. Yeah, you won't regret it. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I just wanted to, yeah, extend my gratitude and my appreciation for you and the vision that you're bringing through and inviting me to be a part of that. And yeah, I'm grateful that I've got brothers on the other side of the pond doing the work that I'm doing and carrying the torch as well. And I look forward to meeting in the flesh someday and on that side
Yes.
of the sea. So thank you, Pal.
Likewise. Yeah, the light in me honors the light in you, sir.
Mm.
All right, folks. Yes. All right, folks. That's it for today. Like I said, please go and check Andrew's work, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.